This video contains gratuitous use of profanity and uncomfortable pauses to compensate for lack of professionalism and original thought. Viewer discretion advised.
Coming to you live from a world of madness due to a Facebook outage for 2 hours today, we bring you the Nerdy Manroom show with your hosts, Hassel and Monster. And Monster, this is our first epic week of the March Mega Madness. Yeah.
That it is, and we talked about this a little bit last week, and unfortunately, as everybody can see, I am traveling this week. I don't have my normal backdrop here.
Yeah, can't let you people see what Cobra Studios really looks like.
I knew I was going to be traveling some this month, but it ended up being every week, and I was like, all right, well, we've already scheduled this, so we're not going to cancel it. We just have to figure out what days work right now. But so you may get longer voting periods sometimes. You might get shorter ones. We'll see how this goes. But for this, we did say we were going to skip Geek Week, so let's go ahead straight into this because we've got a lot to cover. So we'll go straight into the March Mega Madness and what it is. So what we decided to do was, since it is March Madness season, all these different tournaments, everywhere you turn, there's tournaments on Facebook, Instagram, and we decided we would join the fun anyway and make this a new annual event for us.
We decided we'd give you a tournament that matters.
I'm not going to go that far, but sure.
Sure.
So let's give them a rundown, Hassel, on what we decided to do. So I know we went through this last week, you and I, at the end of the week, and set all of it up for the most part. So what we're going to do, we have 8 categories that we chose from. Out of these 8 categories, we have 34 characters. Now, you may be saying, why 34? Because you can't divide that evenly. Well, 4 of the characters will be in a wild card to enter the tournament matching. So out of our categories, our 8, when we have Marvel Comics was the first category we chose out of. Secondly, came from DC Comics. Now, we did those separately, even though they are both comic sets. We did those separately because we figured we had enough people to utilize in those. Then we went to animation or live action TV show, and you can include characters in this like Power Rangers or Transformers, but it has to be characters that primarily kicked off in a show or maybe even in a toy line, but they somehow were in a show. So we decided, for this, like, you can't throw the X-Men in there just because they had an animated series, because then you're double dipping into Marvel.
Yeah.
We did do some double dipping later on, but at this point we decided not to. After that category, we had manga or anime, whichever one you prefer, whether you prefer the manga or the anime, or if they're not in both forms. And we said, with this, if you're not as into those as we are on a few of them, or some of our fellow watchers are, then we said, okay, well, we will also throw independent comics, meaning Image, Dark Horse, whatever, into here. And say, okay, we'll give them a chance to pull characters from there. After that, we went to toy lines. So for that category, it could have been a toy line start. It could have been a cartoon. Just for instance, Snake Eyes could have been picked for G.I. Joe toy line, or he could have been picked for the toon. So this is where we gave the opportunity to double dip just a little bit. We decided then the next category should be movie categories. And in the movies, it was anything other than Star Wars, because, as you'll see in a second, Star Wars is actually the next category. There's enough there to work with to say, hey, we need to give them their own spots. And we're trying to get
Do they really need all those slots?
Yeah, we're trying to give everyone a chance to get in on this madness. And
I know Big Rob is all beside himself today because he didn't get Obi-Wan Season 2, even though that's called A New Hope. But I'm just saying.
I'm not even going to go there. I will go to our last category, though, which was video games, which could be anybody from any video game. And this was, again, another chance to double dip if you really needed to. But what we did was, in each category, we chose 2 hero characters and 2 villain characters. And we went back and forth on debating these and chose together. We both threw some names out and said, okay, that's who we decided to use for it. But with that, when you get to the very end, we've said, okay, out of choosing 2 of each of those in each category, that left us with 1 spot, which is a wild card hero and a wild card villain. They can come from any category you want to. Because what we're going to do shortly is we're going to randomly choose the matches, and the last 2 heroes and the last 2 villains not chosen have to have a wild card match where you and I, Hassel, will decide who's the winner of that to move into the tournament. Now,
all I know is whoever wins this thing, I want to hear, "You're the best around."
We'll let you sing the whole song.
Never.
Well, we said, hey, since we're doing this, how are we going to set up the whole tournament? We decided, unlike basketball and March Madness, we're not doing a ranking system. This is going to be a completely random situation. So after we chose names, we stuck them in Excel. I built a formula for a random generator. So each bracket, you'll see a hero and a villain in round 1 face off against each other. So the random generator will give us a number from 1 to 17 for a hero and for a villain. That'll be a fight. Then we'll keep doing the next one until we have all the bracket areas fulfilled, which will leave us with, before we finish the last one, it'll leave us with 2 heroes, 2 villains. That's the wild card that you and I choose.
But how unfortunate would it be if it was like Chuck Norris versus Devastator? I'm just saying.
Hey, well, this is all based on fan vote, because what we're going to do after this first round where we choose who we think would win the fight, then it goes to the fans, and you guys are going to be able to vote in any of the
Nintendo says the power is yours.
Yeah. In any of the social media accounts, Hassel's going to post those throughout the weeks, and you guys will have the chance to vote on them. And then when we come in with the next week, we'll have the next round lined out. Now, the next round may not be heroes versus villains. It may be hero versus a hero, because after we choose today, the alignments no longer matter at that point. It's going to be, okay, this person advanced in the bracket. So what we're going to do is just, because the bracket I have downloaded has at the top has the wild card, we're going to start from the bottom up and go through each side. And then when we get to the wild card, we'll fill that out. Now on screen here today, you may not see the bracket itself because we've got to pick the random names, which is what we're doing next, because we're going to share the names with you and pick the random fights with the random generator. And I'm going to try to share that on screen. Now, I will admit, we tried this previously and it was working fine when I was doing this from my home setup, but I'm traveling and I don't have that set up. So I'm hoping it shows it on the screen, but I make no promises on that. But I guarantee you these will be completely random.
Well, when you're sitting in a villa in Atlantis there, on Cobra Money, sometimes the Wi-Fi doesn't work.
Well, it's not so much the Wi-Fi as it is I'm not sure how much of my screen is going to share or not. Because I have 2 screens at home and we could share both of us on camera and the Excel file, but I'm not sure if it's going to share just the Excel file or you and the Excel file or all 3 of us. So we'll figure that out after the fact, because all I will be able to see at the time will be the Excel file and maybe your picture.
Hey.
So that kind of walks us through how the tournament's going to go. But each week you guys will vote, and then we will go through and explain who won in each match, as well as update the bracket. And we'll try to have the bracket on screen at that point. And you will see the bracket on screen before the end of the show today. I will pop it on there, but I'll have to fill it out after the fact, after we've gone through everything and kind of pick the fights and stuff. But what we're going to do for the future state, so after we have a winner for each one of the rounds, we will share those, but we will also, Hassel and I, have to talk about why we think that person won and what that means. So if you come to a fight and Chuck Norris ends up beating Superman, well, what's the explanation?
So don't give us no wild cards just to give us a wild card. Don't just throw Joe Dirt in there as a winner, people. Let's don't do that, because I don't want to come up with a compelling case as to how he beat up Galvatron.
But we have to explain it. That's going to be the fun part of the next few weeks of the show. Is we may still get some focus topics in too that might be kind of shorter, but us having to try to explain the winners, especially next week, will just be just the winners, because we still have the full tournament basically to go through. Try to explain why somebody won. It might be very difficult for us, but we're going to have to make an excuse. So come watch us fumble through that. That'll be entertaining.
So help us let the cream rise to the top. Yeah.
And I think one last thing we didn't mention is that as we do this in consecutive years, the reason we're keeping a list of these names and these brackets is because the only person who can reapply for next year, if we do the same theme, is the person who won this year's. That's the only person who can come back. Kind of, sort of, but and we said, hey, maybe we do this year some mixture stuff. Maybe next year it's all wrestling. And in that case, we might not bring the winner back in. But 2 years from now, if we go back to this same setup and say Superman won this, Superman's got to come back into it now. He gets a free buy.
He is Earth Realm champion.
So with that, I think that kind of explains most of it. Do you have any other questions or anything you wanted to throw into it there, Hassel?
Man, I'm just ready for this roller coaster, and let's hit the peak.
Well then, without further ado, let me pull up the file here while we're talking, and then I am going to attempt to share my screen, and hopefully everyone else can see this, but we'll find out. So let's see here. Hassel, you're going to have to tell me if you can see my screen.
I can. It is very minute. That's what she said, but I can see it.
She's told me that more than once, but I still make it work.
She still loves you.
So let's run through the names here. For those of you who can see the screen, and hopefully it is showing, because all I see is Hassel's little small picture and then the screen. So I don't know what everybody else sees or not.
It's actually a full screen there in the middle of mine.
Okay, so what we're going to share is that we have a hero and villain generator down here at the bottom. This will change as we change things up top, but let's run through the hero list first and then the villain list, and we could talk about, if there's anything you want to touch on and talk about, we can. We just have to be a little cognizant of the time because it's going to take us a while to make all these matches. So from the heroes, from the anime universe, we chose 8-Man After. We also chose Goku from that universe, which is one of my favorites. From cartoons, we chose He-Man. From movies, we chose John Wick from Part 1, and I'm going to let Hassel explain specifically why it was Part 1, because he had a caveat on this one. It has to be this one.
For one, this is when he's at his most bitter, fueled by rage. He hasn't yet killed, the mob boss. He is still Baba Yaga seeking revenge. The puppy is still have fresh blood. Plus, he's a tired motherfucker in Part 2 and 3.
This is fair. So from video games, we have Kirby. I want to say we chose this from the toy line, but we said Leonardo from Ninja Turtles. Again, some of these were able to double dip, so that's why. From live action / TV, we have Mighty Morphin Power Rangers White Ranger. From Star Wars, we have Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's for you, Big Rob, because you didn't get season 2, so he can fight it out in here.
You get him here. This can be your season 2.
We have Optimus Prime coming in. Quicksilver, and listed here as from Silverhawks because there are so many characters named Quicksilver. I was even confused when we first started talking this. I was like, Hassel, why are you choosing Quicksilver, who's the knockoff Flash? And he was like, I'm talking about Silverhawks. Just to piss Casey off. Next up, we've got Spider-Man from Marvel Comics, Starkiller from Star Wars video games, Storm from the X-Men, Superman. Of course, we couldn't have a tournament without him. From another movie pick was the Terminator T-800, which I think I originally, and I'm going to get hate for this, but I originally wrote T-1000 for some reason, and then realized later, why did I do that? Because he's the 800.
You know what I called that? I just said, I know what it means.
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking when I did that, other than we were trying to do this in a hurry. But it's specifically the T-800 from T2 on, just because at that point he is a hero. Which, quick aside, how well does your movie have to go to where your main villain in the next movie and all subsequent sequels has to become the hero of the film because he is so liked?
Yeah.
That's weird. I mean,
he was beloved by this point. It was the accent. The Chopper. Next
up, we've got the Flash, specifically Barry Allen in this case, and we went back and forth saying, is it just the Flash or did we want a specific one? We chose specific one, which you could argue there's other Superman, but let's be honest, there's only one Superman, that's Clark Kent.
It's one Man of Steel. You don't tuck on this cape either, people.
And for our final heroes pick, it's the Mandalorian.
Dun, 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 dun.
For the villains, we'll go from the bottom up since I'm already down here, and if you could see me scrolling on the screen just to make sure I'm reading the names right, we've got Zarathos up first from Marvel Comics, the Clown from Spawn, and yes, we listed that as from Spawn because, as I said, the clown is like, which clown? And I don't even like clowns. I think I'm the one who came up with that one originally for the tournament.
You did. I was proud of you, Monster. I'm going to be honest. I was pretty proud of you.
He's a little creepy.
Facing fears, baby. Facing fears.
Next up, we've got Superboy Prime, Skeletor, Sinestro, and specifically, while we didn't list it here, we were speaking more of the later Sinestro from the Sinestro Corps. While he was evil the entire time, let's not go goofy Super Friends. This is comic Sinestro, who's quite mean.
It's badass.
We have Rao the Conqueror from the Fist of the North Star, the Predator from the Predator films, Mum-Ra from Thundercats. I don't know how we could have done this without some of these villains, classic ones. along with Mun-Ra, we also brought in his counterpart from the Silverhawks, Monstar. We've got Megatron from the Transformers. I'm thinking more cartoon than movie one, just because it was not I think we chose this one specifically in the cartoon era because the movie one is not the same. Jason Voorhees, who, if anybody can guess, who came up with that one for the tournament. I'm still stuck on this. Is it Ganondorf or is it Ganon? Because I can never remember what his name is. Sometimes they call him one, and sometimes
it was always Ganon to me. But I mean, it was the later games when they went into the Ganondorf or whatever. So I'm going with Ganon. Let's just say Ganon.
Ganon, just to make it easier, because I was sitting here thinking about, is that really the right name?
He wants the Triforce either way.
Exactly. We've got Dr. Doom from Marvel Comics. We've got Red Skull, who was also a Marvel comic, but I think he was a wild card pick for one of us. And then Darth Vader. How could we do this without Vader? Kind of like having this tournament without Superman. How do you do this?
Man.
Darth Revan from Star Wars. And last but not least, Bowser, or King Koopa from the Mario games. So a lot of interesting names here. Some very interesting fights possibly coming up.
So did I overlook it? Did Kenshiro not make the cut? I can't remember.
No, we did not have him this time.
Okay. So we only have one representative of the North Star.
That is true, but again, future tournaments.
Bad. He's a brother you'd be proud of if he wasn't such a monster.
Because I'm sure there's a lot of folks, a lot of flack we'll get for some others not being on here, such as there's no Captain America, there's no Batman.
Yeah.
But we said we wanted to keep this where we had it. Even a certain number from every category, try not to double dip too much, because we want to be able to have future ones that have different characters in them. And maybe as we go along,
for the next years.
And maybe as we go along, if we get enough and say, okay, we have enough winners who were in other tournaments, maybe we have an all-out battle of champions.
Ooh.
And then they can all come back, or an all-out battle of, okay, pick certain ones from certain tournaments who maybe weren't necessarily even champions, but fan favorites, and we'll take those forward.
I always said the power is yours, guys. You tell us what works and what doesn't work in this, and moving forward, we'll know. So
that is exactly
the powers in the vote. It's just like the elections.
So what we're going to do is, as I go through and get as you see, the random generator just changed numbers down there. As I click on different cells and the random generator changes, that will be the match. And I will type the names over here under the round one matches. And then I will move them to the bracket for us to place on here to see, and to put it on social media so you guys can vote. So, Hassel, I think if we're ready, we can kind of start some of these, and we can talk about some of the matches as we go to them. But we just keep in mind we do have to spend some good bit of time on the wild card, because you and I are going to have to debate it. And we did say if we couldn't come to a consensus together, we'll just text Big Rob and make him give us he'll be the third vote.
So, Rob, you better be on call.
All right. So, if you're ready, Hassel, let's do the first one.
Let's do it.
Let's see. Oh, nope. I got to do this.
He's fucking with his eye holes, people.
You know what? Sometimes the random generator's funky about how it works. So number 14 from the Heroes, which is Superman. God, he got in the first match against. I think it just changed because I did that. Yes. So, all right, I messed that up a little bit. So we are going to start over then, because I didn't realize it was going to change every time I hit enter. So we're going to start with number 4. Which, Hassel, you're going to have to keep these in mind, so I type them in here. That's John Wick from Part 1 against Sinestro.
Ooh.
So.
Ooh.
All right. So now we can take them off the list. And Sinestro. So that gives us a battle. And actually, you know what? This comes up with number 8 and 7 as the next fight, which is 8 for the Heroes is Optimus Prime, and number 7, Jason Voorhees.
Oh.
I don't think this fight is going to go the way you want it to, Hassel.
This shit's rigged.
So let's see. I can delete them off of the list now.
I'm going to need my little horror lights to really rally up on this, people.
So we're going to have to delete some numbers as well to make this work, or just keep hitting enter until I get. All right. Unfortunately, because of the way this is set up, and they were all in alphabetical order at that point, I have to do this a little bit till we get matches. Number 6 for the heroes, Leonardo versus Skeletor.
Ooh.
That's going to be an interesting fight.
Yeah. Okay.
So we can delete and delete. So our next match shows number 3 hero of He-Man.
And the Masters of the Universe.
And he was against number 1, which will be Bowser.
Huh.
That basically him versus Whiplash.
Pretty much.
Interesting. Interesting.
Okay.
So this shows number 9 for the heroes, which you've already used. So I will have to hit enter again. Number 11 for the hero, Spider-Man versus number 10 for the villains, Mum-Ra.
Ooh. I'd buy that for $1.
I'd read that comic.
Yeah. Be quite interesting. Mum-Ra posing as Uncle Ben. You know it's going to be asked to do it.
So our next battle, number 14. Oh, no, we'll have to redo that because it's giving me a blank spot for the villain. So number 12 for heroes would be Star Killer against Monstar.
Ooh. That could be fun. That'll be one I will enjoy theorizing.
That will be an interesting. So let's see, 5 and 12. So we have those. So 5 for the heroes is Kirby against number 12, Raoul the Conqueror.
Ooh. Buddy,
that might be
it don't look too good
fight
for you. Why couldn't Jason have got Kirby, huh? Come on. I think Raoul would have stood a better chance with Optimus.
So our next fight is 15 and 8. So 15 for the heroes is the Terminator T-800, and number 8 is Megatron.
Ooh. Okay.
Interesting.
He still
Metal on
functions.
metal. For now, until he's terminated.
One won't.
So that brings us to our next fight, which is actually 16 versus 16. So that's kind of interesting. It's the Flash versus the Clown from Spawn.
Okay. That could be interesting.
First one that was the same spot. That's kind of odd. Usually my random generators end up connecting those quicker. All right, so let's take them off the list now. And yes, for everyone's knowledge, we do have another tab that keeps all these on here just so we don't forget who we had where.
Yeah, because I will.
By next year at this time, I definitely will. So let's see. That gave us a 13 versus a 12. We can't do that because we don't have the 12. So 9 versus 6. We can't do that one. 7 versus 5. So we can do that. Oh, that's going to probably take out one of my favorites quickly. The White Ranger from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers versus Dr. Doom.
Ooh. Yeah. Tommy, that looks good, buddy.
Yeah, no, it's not. Wow. So I guess what we can do too to help this out a little bit is maybe some of these lines that are completely blank now, we can delete and shift up, and that will change the formula as well to help us out. So that'll help a little bit. And I'm having to work with the touchpad.
And you people didn't know you could tune in this week and get an Excel tutorial either, did you? You're learning. Write this off as a business expense.
I do nothing without teaching. That's how you keep the minions in line.
That's what you got to do sometimes.
All right. So let's see what's the next match here that we got. Let's see here. And actually, we need to renumber as well. No, not that way. Why did you do that? This would help if I had the right version of Excel. he doesn't want to change it.
Covers and cost-cutting modes.
Yeah, we try to. We try. So number 8 versus number 3, we can do that. Number 8 is Quicksilver from Silverhawks versus number 3, who is Darth Vader.
Ooh.
I don't think he's taking him in.
2 cyborgs and one's got the Force, just saying.
This is exactly right. That's going to be an ugly. That might be a pretty quick but ugly fight.
Yeah, them wings will be mounted on the wall somewhere in Mustafar.
I don't know if he'll go back to Mustafar. That's kind of, that's kind of rough. Let's see if this formula works this time. No. Why does it keep just see what happens when you buy the cheaper version. So that gives us number 3. We can't use that one just yet because we've got no number 3 on the heroes. Let's see here. Number 10 versus number 10. Oh, no. He should be gone by now. Somehow we named Terminator. That was my bad. Number 8, Storm versus... Ooh, that's interesting. Storm versus Zarathos.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's a strange one there.
Huh. Powerful Storm is. I don't know how well she fares there.
Yeah, that's going to be a tricky one.
She's an Omega mutant, but I mean, this is a mighty fucking demon here, not just some regular peon.
This is true. So let's see. 2 versus 10. We don't have a 10 villain, so we got to change that up again. 9 versus 8. You know what? Let's just do this. Let's move all these guys up a notch. Move all these up a notch. And yes, this is why we said we would be doing this show as just this only, because it takes me this long to operate this. So much easier with an actual mouse. I don't do well with a touchpad on the computer.
Dude, I'm brutal on that thing. Like, I literally have the girliest mouse of all time sitting here beside me. But you know what? It works. I don't care.
And somewhere along the way, I had lost a hero name. I've got to figure out who I had deleted by accident. So we will have to go search that out in just a moment. Because somehow I have lost that. But for this round, number 4 on the heroes is now Superman, who finally got into the fight. Oh, I forgot who he was going against because I didn't read it quick enough. Dang it. I've done that twice now with him for some reason. So we're going to go Obi-Wan Kenobi versus number 6 Superboy Prime. So next year we're gonna work on some things to make this go even smoother.
This is a trial run, people. This is our first go.
So number 1 versus number 5. So 8-Man After versus the Predator.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
I'm not so sure your boy 8-Man After makes that one.
Oh, bruh, you better go back and watch that shit.
So let's see. This tells us that 1 and 1, which we don't have. So let's get a different option here. Number 3 we don't have. So let's go again. 4, Superman finally. With no villain to fight. Jeez. How do I keep missing? So actually we can delete number 6 because that spot's not going to come up anyway. Like I said, we'll find a way to make this smoother next year. This was kind of planned out for us to do it, but we kind of speeded through setting it up. So unfortunately, a few mistakes were made.
Be's that way sometimes.
But number 2, we've got Superman fighting number 4, Megatron. Megatron should have already been off here, so maybe that's where that list was off.
Yeah, I was going to say, Megatron's gone.
So I did not get him and Terminator off of here. That was the problem. So So this is the last actual fight, right? Yep. And then we've got to do the wild card slot. So, number 1 hero versus number 4 villain, who we don't have. So let's delete these last 2 spots. Have this worked out. Number 2, Superman versus Gavin.
Ooh. You know what? I really wish it could have been Superman versus Goku, even though I know they're heroes.
It may come down to it at the end, though. We don't know yet. So that leaves us with wild card fights. So, Hassel, this is where you and I have to now debate, because we've got to come to a consensus on hero and villain here. So, here's our heroes. We have Goku and the Mandalorian fighting it out for the last hero spot, and Darth Revan versus Red Skull for the last villain spot. So, you know what? I let's start with villains, because I'm pretty much of the mind that is plotting as good as Red Skull is. Without a cosmic cube, he's not defeating Darth Revan. Darth Revan is a Force user, one of the most powerful. Yeah. I've got to go with Darth Revan on this, at least from my perspective. I'm not sure how you feel about it.
No, absolutely. I mean, the only the only way Skull wins any of the, even if this was a 4-way, would be if him and maybe the Mandalorian, he might could find a way. But I guess Revan, no, not a prayer.
So I guess I should do this for the bracket too, because I will add these to the bracket as well. And there's no sense of people sitting here watching me type on the bracket. I will do that after the fact. But let's put the names over here for the fight. And shimmy this off the screen.
Shimmy, shimmy, ya, shimmy, yam, shimmy, yay.
So,
give me the mic so I can take it away.
If we both agree, I think Darth Revan goes forward in this.
Absolutely. He is strong with the Force.
Is there any way in which Skull stands a chance at all?
Against Revan? No, not without a cosmic cube.
That's kind of where my head's at too. Like you're talking
even
about.
If it would be challenging for him, even if he had the brain of Xavier and was just before he done Red Skull lot, or however you want to call that.
Oh, Red Onslaught, and what's it called, the White Skull or whatever then?
Yeah, I mean, even then it would be challenging, because you're just not going to, use a lot of telepathic abilities on a Sith or a Jedi like that.
No, that's I just
They're attuned to you, because they're basically their Jedi mind trick is nothing more than that.
Lower level,
a simpler version of it,
Yeah, they're lower level of telepathy, right? But it's still telepathy. I don't see any shape, form, fashion in which no matter how good he can strategize, because he's supposed to be Cap's opposite. I mean, I just don't see him coming up with a plan to take Revan out.
No, because they say he had a shit ton of Hydra that Revan had to fight through first. He's going to burn through them with that lightsaber and Force abilities pretty quick. I don't know. I see that being a pretty open and shut case, really. I mean, little to no resistance.
I agree, and honestly, I'm going to say the same thing on the hero fight here for the wild card spot.
Unfortunately, yes.
It seems like the wild cards who the folks who made it into the wild card spot. This is almost kind of like, really, truthfully, like the March Madness. Oh, this is the number 16. See you fight, facing off against the number 3. It's like, yeah, the Mandalorian don't stand a whole lot of chance.
AAA schools got to look across the field, the court at Duke, and it's like, oh shit, we're in trouble.
Yeah, you got to figure Red Skull and Mandalorian. Now, if this had been Skull versus Mandalorian, that might be a different story.
That would have been a fun fight, and Goku and Revan could have been a good one.
Could have been, but
that's not how it works. See, this isn't how it works. We have no control of this. You got control of it beyond this point.
Yeah, the only control of this we had was that we could have done it a lot smoother, because I thought I was prepared to do it quickly, and it didn't go quite as quick as I thought it would. But that was
100 words per minute.
Operator error. Yeah. But yeah, I think Goku pulls that out. I mean, honestly, no matter how badass Mandalorian is, I don't think he's defeating Goku's Kamehameha or his Super Saiyan mode or any of that. So that's
yeah.
So with that, think Goku takes that. And for everybody who's looking at the screen, this is not exactly how the brackets are set up either. Brackets are actually set up where this opening match with Goku, Mandalorian, Darth Vader, and Red Skull are at the top spots. I am just going to randomly put numbers on the rest of them and say this is the first fight in this bracket, first fight over in this bracket for the remainder of them, so that we get an even spread and opportunity. Because
just to play devil's advocate here, what if the Mandalorian sweeps the leg? Just,
I'm not sure that's gonna. Yeah.
He better have Grogu in his backpack. That's all I can say. Even then, he'd be uphill.
Yeah, that might be an interesting. Yeah.
I'll be honest. For me, Goku and Superman are actually two of the ones it's difficult to put in this, just because we know how fanboys are. Half of them are going to jerk off over Goku. The other half's going to jerk off over Superman, and see no one beating neither one of them, because half of them, for some reason, think that Goku can beat Superman. So, but we give you people what you want.
Yeah, and for the instance, I'm not going to do it on here on screen just because it's already been a little bit of a hassle or a tough point to figure out how to do the the random generator. But I think what we're going to do is all fair here, so we're going to put the random generator back in for, okay, this match goes into this slot, this match goes into the next one, just to be fair on them, and that way the next fight is not Goku versus Superman, and it doesn't guarantee that they'll be the last fight either.
Yeah, it kind of give it where somebody doesn't get a clear path, where it ain't like where Hogan and Andre eliminate each other at some point.
Yeah,
and the $1 Million Man goes all the way.
But before we leave this, because we do still have time for Nerd Out, we're going to do a little bit of that just to keep that in the show as well, because that's one of the fan favorite points of the show, and we don't want to give that up. But as you look at these fights, what is the most interesting looking fight in the first round for you? Or matter of fact, give me your least and your worst fight. Your number one.
I'm going to be honest. My least by far is Jason and Prime. my boy just got shit on. He got a big energon turd laid on him. It's going to be bad. Yeah.
My least looking forward to is the White Ranger versus Dr. Doom, because I was hoping to see White Ranger at least get a little bit of love and go to round 2, but I don't think that's going to happen now.
Who did Rao have?
Rao is facing off against Kirby.
Okay, it was the Star Killer fight is the one that I was like, ooh, that really intrigues me. Star
Killer versus Monstar. That could be an interesting fight.
Yes. That actually really intrigues me. I could do a short story to that.
I am actually more interested as far as that goes. Like the one I want to see the most, I think will be the most interesting one. Wow, there's a couple of them that I really like, but I'm torn between two of them. I think would be the most interesting one would be Spider-Man versus Mum-Ra.
That would be fun.
Or Obi-Wan versus Superboy Prime.
Okay, just for the sake of argument here, what is the setting of where they're battling?
You know what? That's something we didn't discuss for this. I think it's just more of a who do you think is going to win in the fight, and don't worry about that as much this go around.
Well, I'm just saying, do we give Obi-Wan a chance with the possibility of a non-yellow sun in the area?
Well, that was the thing with Superboy Prime, though. He wore the cosmic armor that he got from the Monitor that actually contained some of that to keep his cells somewhat powered up.
I could see a way where the Force could knock the armor out of function.
It'd be an interesting fight, but it's one of those where you almost feel like there's no way that somebody like Obi-Wan pulls that out. But this is all pure fan vote speculation, so it could be that he pulls one out there. You know, it's very interesting. I don't want to speculate.
I'm sure Big Rob was probably sitting there rubbing his hands together, thinking of 37 different ways in which Obi-Wan does this.
Well, you know, and that could be, but it's one of those things where, you know, hey, we're not going to.
Does Obi-Wan know about the existence of kryptonite?
Interesting point. So, but it's one of those where I don't want to speculate too much because I don't want to give any preconceived notions to.
So we're just going to assume, for the sake of Sanctum. They're on Battle World, correct? Is this fair?
Sure, we can go with that.
Okay.
This is going to be pretty interesting to see who pulls out here. But with that, we have been on this for quite a while, and I know our timer's running out, so let me stop sharing my screen now and go back to our normal view.
Hey, he's back.
I was wondering, could you actually see me during any of that or not?
I could. It had both of us like in these two corners, and I had this little Excel file in the middle. So I'm sitting here like, I don't have my eyeglasses. So I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, you know that's the fun thing. I all I could see was what I had on my screen, which was a little box of you, and then the Excel file, which was frustrating me because I thought I had it set up to work earlier, but work easier. But then I realized, I can't delete.
I had all three, but we were all equally small. So
yeah, well, I thought I could delete a line item and it would just fix the formula for me, and I realized, oh wait, I can't do that because I'm not taking both people off the same line every time.
Hey, people, next year you'll have this built. Be down.
Yeah, we're going to have a better system for it next year. And also, I'd like to be able to put the bracket on screen, but since I'm traveling, there's no way I could bounce back and forth because all I've got is the small laptop screen versus two large monitors. So I'm not trying to go back and forth to put them on there at the same time.
See what happens when he's not at Cobra headquarters, people?
Sacrifices must be made.
He's that way sometimes.
Usually it's of the human variety, but we'll let it be with the work today. With that, though, Hassel, I think we've been on this for a while, so let's go into Nerd Out. So for anybody who hasn't been here before, this is the part of the show where we ask random questions about the topics of the day and respond with little to no prep time. And this week, since we are into our March Madness stuff, the random question could be about what we were talking about or anything individually. We would love to hear your guys' answers to the questions in the comments, or if you just want to expand upon ours, please feel free to do that too, because we'd love to hear from you guys. We don't have any I don't have any fan ones that were sent in this week, unless you have some, Hassel, that were hidden somewhere. I know we had some last week to share, but
no,
I do
actually,
have some personal.
The fans have been hitting on a lot, but a lot of what they've hit on is the Steam stuff that we've been posting. We actually got like 27,000 views on our Steam reel, so that was pretty. We gained about roughly 100 new subscribers on Instagram. So, hey.
So let's take a moment before we go into our individual Nerd Out questions, since you brought up that Sting reel. Sting retired. It was his last match. I know we weren't doing Geek Week, but as I look at the timer now, we've got a little bit of time we can spare to go into this. And this is a additional Nerd Out question that I have now that now that we know that we have enough time to answer it. How did you feel about his retirement match and stuff? Do you feel that was I've seen people say it was a perfect send-off. I've seen other people saying it was good, but this didn't make sense. So I want to know your opinion of it, Hassel.
Okay, so for AEW, it was good. With him being in the tag environment, and I'm sure they've done that so that he could Darby could take the big bumps of the majority. I mean, Sting took a shit ton of big bumps to this run, honestly, but Darby could take the brunt of the punishment, so to speak. Sting make the fight the high spots. So I get why he was in a tag situation the whole time. And Tony Khan, that was his selling point to Sting, was like, look, it doesn't sit well with me how you was booked in your last run. I want to make things right, which is why they, done him the way they do. And he actually requested the Bucks. So I actually thought that was kind of interesting. It wasn't a fact where the Bucks, kind of pushed for that. So I thought it was as well a send off as it could. It was really cool to see his sons. And the one boy looks just fucking like him.
The surfer one?
Yes. And the fact that he actually buzzed his hair, dyed it blonde. I mean, he looked spot on. Other than he had a little bit of a pudge in the belly, but he's got the guns and a big chest. And I mean, he hit the role. Yeah, he done really well. It's a little questionable with me with the other one. I was cool with the Wolfpack look, aside from the red tights. I don't ever recall him wearing the red tights with the black scorpions. Like, I never recall him wearing that.
I thought he did.
And maybe he did. I mean, I just don't, and I fancy myself a wrestling aficionado, but I don't recall a match. It had to be a one-off if he did. He never did. He didn't do it on a more than once basis, and it would be hard for me to imagine missing that. But unless he done it in TNA, maybe, I'm not sure. But aside from that, I mean, it was Sting
Yeah,
has
most
a
of the
big
pictures I
spots.
see are the black tights with the
with
red scorpions and the red padding.
And he had red boots during that run.
Yep.
And I will say, I got WWE 2K24 going today. It was so fucking cool. Well, there's a version of Bray Wyatt on there with the red Wolfpack shirt, and he comes to the ring with the Wolfpack logo theme, and there is NWO John Cena on there. So apparently that's part of the showcase mode, but they had those versions playable on there, which is cool to hear Wolfpack, but
yeah,
back to Sting, I thought they'd done a good job. I mean, it's what I have liked to see him in a one-on-one encounter for his final go. Would I have liked to see him Surfer Sting it one more time? Absolutely. But I felt like it was the best they could do because he wasn't going to dye his hair blonde. He wasn't going to buzz his hair because, let's face it, majority of what he's got is back here. So I get it. And if he'd have just dyed it all blonde, he'd look like Ric Flair, with that bad comb back he's got. So you got the three versions of him, so to speak. You had Sting as a Crow, one son as a Surfer, and one son as a Wolfpack. So I dug it. I thought it was good.
I thought everything was perfectly fine. Some of the execution of the match is what I had a problem with.
The glass spot was questionable, even though Darby went through it. I mean, that was fucking.
There was a part where Sting went through glass too, wasn't there?
Well, yeah, he got caught up in it because it was remnants of what was left behind. But I think they did another spot in the ring, but it was a little more controlled than the one Darby took.
I was fine with a tag team match for him because let's say he's older. He needed,
65. I mean,
probably hard not to be blown up during that. I love the fact that they had all the other folks who had been with him out there. Ricky Steamboat's the timekeeper. You got Ric Flair out there. Magnum TA was in the audience. Who else?
Nikita Koloff was there. Lex Luger was there.
Yeah. So great for all that, and I think him winning the match with the titles was a great point to call it and say, okay, this is where you retire, you go out on top. I was fine with all that. It was the execution of the match where with all the high spots and all the hardcore looking stuff, and I'm like, Sting really wasn't a hardcore wrestler. He was just a wrestler.
But you know what? During his AEW run, he done a lot of that shit. He hit there was some matches like with the Hardys when Jeff first came into TNA. They done like Darby and Sting versus the Hardys. Or he took some fucking spots that I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, but my problem with that is if I'm going to retire a wrestler who is known for hardcore, if this had been Mick Foley, retire him in a hardcore match.
Yeah.
But Sting didn't need to retire in a hardcore looking match or even a tornado tag. It just needed to be a tag match, and he needed to be the one who got the win. And that would have been perfect.
That's the only thing I would have changed is he would have scorpioned up in a regular one-on-one, and he'd have won.
But now I did enjoy seeing it, and I got a little annoyed in the after because I watched the after thing, the 9-minute clip that's on YouTube of how he's talking. It's like, I'm off air, I can say whatever I want to now about his retirement stuff, and he calls Tony Khan out there and thanks him. Well, okay, that's fine if you're going to do that. I could have done without seeing Tony Khan get in the ring. But
he's so awkward.
Darby Allin kept talking to him and giving him cues and stuff, and he finally at one point he's like, I'm getting cues. I was like, Darby, just go away.
Yeah, shut the fuck up, Darby.
I like Darby Allin, but I was like, go away. And then
I can promise you, Darby is about to fade into obscurity within 3 months.
Quite possibly. I could have done without him being in there and going over and talking to Sting every 2 minutes to give him cues to do something that they wanted him to do. But like when he finally left, I did get a kick. He's like, I'm going to go to the hospital now. The ring's all yours. Because he was just bleeding profusely out of his back. He's like, Sting's like, hey, text me how many stitches that takes.
Yeah, he was like, that kid took some punishment. And on one hand, I can respect him for that. He is the modern day Mick Foley. I will give that kid this.
Yeah.
He is very much the modern day Mick Foley. He don't have the padding Mick had. So his career, if he's not careful, will be a lot shorter.
Well, that's just like, hey, was it did he do a flip or did he do a coffin drop onto that glass?
I think he done a front flip, the sunset.
So maybe he rolled out enough because I was like, if he did a coffin drop through that glass, there's no way he rolled. So they're not just stitching his back; they're pulling glass out of it.
Oh yeah,
That
it was
stuff,
brutal.
it didn't just cut him. That had to have went in if he just landed on it flat like that.
Yeah,
It's like, oof.
I did like how they kind of broke kayfabe at the end. Like Wardlow was one of the first people out there to hug Sting, and Jericho and a few others. Because apparently, I didn't realize this, when Wardlow was on the Independents before he actually hit AEW. There's a picture of the two together, and he actually he helped him get into AEW, even though Wardlow was there first. So that was kind of cool. I don't know. The video package going into it, I'm not gonna lie. Woo! You got your boy in his feels.
I have not watched that yet.
When you get a chance, go back and watch it, and be by yourself when you watch it.
Oh, I don't care. I'll cry in front of people.
But yeah, dude,
what did Macho Man tell Arsenio? Oh, I've cried 1,000 times. I'll cry 1,000 times more.
To me how to get in their feelings a little bit, but yeah, he was in a theater and he's like watching the screen that's going over his career, and he's sitting there smiling. And it's like, hey, that was pretty cool. But
yeah,
hats off to the Black Belt Combat Club too for wearing the Road Warrior pads out to the ring. That was kind of cool. Seeing as they were in the Greensboro Coliseum, David Crockett was there. That was real cool.
Yeah, if it had been somebody else, I'd have been all right with it.
I'm not big on Mox. I like Cesaro, all right. Mox, I am not big on at all. He's a fucking idiot in the ring. But, it was cool to see him show some respect to the Road Warriors, because the Road Warriors don't get the respect they deserve anymore.
No. But with that, let's go into our nerd out questions, because now we have ate up some of the time we were trying to make back up. So, Hassel, what do you got this week? Because I went first last week.
All right. So, since there were some things that didn't make it, I'm going to throw out a verses to you. Totally off the top of my head, because, the hero isn't. The villain I'm finna pull on my ass, actually. I'm not sure who I got.
That might be painful, depending on how big he is.
But it could be. It could be. So, Kenshiro versus Hordak.
Kenshiro versus Hordak. I got to go with Hordak. I just think he has too much to utilize.
You think the mystical takes over the you're already dead?
Yeah, I mean, not so much that. It's more.
Man walked through a mountain falling on him, G. I'm just saying.
Well, no, I agree that he's tough and stuff, but at the same time, Hordak has cannon arm, full army, all these other vehicles and stuff. So I think he just has more that he can utilize to attack Kenshiro that might eventually wear him out.
I don't know, man. You watch OG Fist of the North Star, even after his resurrection, where he walks to a fucking mountain, like he's shrugging off hits left and right like it ain't shit, and then just saying.
You see all the time all these verses that people come up with, and a lot of the ones you see is Superman versus Goku or Superman versus the Sentry stuff. Nobody says, what if Kenshiro fought Goku?
Ooh.
That's an interesting
That would be fun. That would be very fun. Or Ray. I always thought he was very, very underutilized in the Fist of the North Star.
I only remember from the movie, but I didn't watch the series that much. But a lot of it's on Crunchyroll, I think. But I think it may be all in Japanese. I'm not sure if it's actually.
It goes a little more into it, and there's another brother, Toki, that was like a healer or whatever. They get a little more into that. I always thought Ray was very, very underappreciated, I guess is more the word I'm looking for. He had some cool ass power. He just go slash your ass in half. I mean, pretty damn legit.
He was pretty cool. I liked him, but I love those movies. But
he was no match for Shin. But hey.
So my question for this week, since you brought up a versus fight, it's not a versus, but and it's a 2-part question. But what's your favorite thing and your least favorite thing about a versus debate?
My favorite thing is the imagination it evokes. Because we're all fans. So we all go to instantly into, ooh. And if you're an objective fan and don't go into fanboyism, you can start weighing options like, okay, well, this character's got ABC. This character's got ABC. But holy shit, there's D&E here. Oh, but you got F over here. You know, and you can have fun with it objectively. My least favorite thing by far is those just hardcore fanboys, and we are all guilty of it to some degree. I'm guilty of it myself with like certain characters. But like especially your anime guys, and I'm gonna say this, your Gokuers that sit there and paste Goku's head on, you know, some chick's body and jerk off to him. It's like, come on. He is very powerful, but I mean, I don't know. That's probably some of my least favorite. I mean, kind of like Casey with Flash. Anytime we have any kind of versus,
I wasn't gonna say it was. I wasn't gonna pick Goku for that, but yeah, same thing. And you know, my favorite thing is the idea of the fight, right? The idea about the versus. Oh, who would win this? And sometimes I'm like, I don't see it, but a lot of times it's just the idea, and it's a good idea. But my least favorite part is exactly what you said. It's the undying devotee fan that's, you know, loyal no matter what, and it's like, well, this person can do this, so they can beat anybody. It's like, dude, I'm one of those people who looks at it objectively, and even I'm like, well, Superman's supposed to be your quintessential superhero, so I feel like he should win most every fight, but you give me a good enough reason why he might lose, and I'll hear you out.
And don't get me wrong, we are all guilty of it. I mean, we give Casey a lot of shit, obviously, and for those of you who don't know, we love Casey. He's good people. But it's kind of like, I'm guilty of it like with Bret Hart. Like, if you were to like hit me with like Bret Hart versus Kurt Angle right now, you know what I'm saying? I'm going Bret all the way. But can I see 30 different ways where Kurt wins this? Hell yes. But the fanboy in me is going to pull for the pink and black attack. We're all guilty of it to some degree.
Oh yeah, we all look at it from our perspective, right? It's just, I get caught up when it's someone who can't even hear it out.
That's the aggravating point. Like, no, there's no way. And they start getting like angry with you, like to the point of like, it's almost like college football fans. And this is what kept me away from watching college football for years. And I hate that I allowed it to do this, but like you get these fans that are so enthralled into their beloved team that they will like shoot family members.
Good Lord.
Because, you know, one said go dogs and one said roll fucking tide. It's like, holy shit. Like for years, I thought it was just Georgia fans that were douchebags because we're around Georgia fans. And kind of found out I was like not loving my own home state team but robbing myself of college football because all college fans are dicks. Once you start listening to the rest of them, it's like, holy shit, y'all are worse than Georgia fans. Yeah.
It happens with pretty much everything you do like that, though, right? I mean, it's just this is this, but and folks just won't hear it. The only other thing I can say I get mad about is those people who also, that's the only thing they think about, and they walk up. Well, what if your fifth favorite Transformer fought your eighth favorite Transformer, teamed up with your third favorite Transformer? Who would win this fight? Like, dude, I don't even know who that is.
Yeah, that's a Oreo dirt cake of levels right there. It's all on top of each other.
Yeah, that's where I'm like, I can't be into all that too much.
Nah, that goes beyond me there. It's at that point it's like, you come back to me with just two people. Maybe a triple threat.
But since you spoke about going beyond, so that we don't go beyond our time today, I think that brings us pretty much to a close here. But before we leave, Hassel, you got to tell everybody where they can find us at.
Man, we are everywhere, folks. You can find us on Spotlight Media via Zone Collectibles on Roku and Fire TV. You can find us on Facebook, The Hassel Hutchinson. You can find us on Instagram, where we have gained a lot of traction. The Nerdy Manroom Show. You can find us on TikTok, the.nerdy.manroom. And you can find us on Twitter at NerdyMR Show. And most of all, importantly, find us on YouTube. Like, subscribe, share. We are very, very close to 500 subscribers. We hit that 500 mark. We'll give something very special away. Well, we've yet to announce it, but it's coming.
And also, don't forget to check us out on Geek Network. We are part of the Geek Network family of channels. And when you check us out there, I think we're still looking for a few more people to do interviews and reviews. So check out the graphic on screen somewhere here. I don't know where. Somewhere that I'll put on screen here. So if you're interested to apply to join. And while you're checking us out, go check out our extended Nerdy Manroom family member, Big Rob. You can find him on his channel, Big Rob's House of Entertainment and No Chinese Food.
Chinese food.
Enjoy his stories from the road, his toy hunts, and his movie reviews. And after you go check out us, Geek Network, and all of our other, and Big Rob and all of our other friends,
we don't.
Go check out our sponsor, These Own Collectibles. You can find them on the internet at theseowncollectibles@gmail.com and on Facebook at These Own Collectibles, or in their store at 305 Main Street, Tifton, Georgia. Visit them for all your nerdy needs. We thank them for sponsoring the show and very much appreciate it. It helps us stay on the air here. And along with that, help them support the local artist community by bringing their cause of bringing unity to the community. Yeah, I got tongue-tied. I can't say it.
I gotta say it
what he said this time. This week, normally we do a shout out to some of our other friends and extended Geek Network folks in the credits, but this week, because we were putting the bracket together, we will save that until next week when we're back on our normal schedule, but we will put the bracket in here already once in the show, but we're going to put it here at the end credits as well, so as you watch all the way through and you watch the music on our outro, you'll get to see the bracket in more detail, and then Hassel will be posting it in future days on some of our social media to get your votes in. And with that, I think we're done for this week, but join us here next time. We're going to continue the March Madness Melee. Until then, live nerdy and fight.